Use the Dither or not? In this video we see the details and how to set up your DAW to work properly without digitally distorting throughout the entire production process up to the master. Whenever you export a digital audio file as a truncated and not as float, you need to add a Dither to prevent it from distorting. For the purpose of this tutorial, I have prepared some files exclusively at 8 bits to make everything more evident. Let's start from a simple condition to make everything clearer. I have here a 440 Hz tone at negative 36 dB exported at 8 bits with a Dither applied. We also hear the background noise. The same tone exported without dithering. Evidently distorts. Let's see what happens with a spectrum analyzer. With a Dither, the tone is clean and there is background noise. The tone without the Dither, the distortion is unmanageable. Let's see if everything is still present at 16 bits with a quieter tone, negative 60 dB. The original 440 without Dither. The distortion is always there, of course less obvious, but it's there. If I boost volume of the previous takes and listen to them again, original tone, there's added noise but the note is intact. Now without Dither, plenty of distortion. The absence of dithering is more noticeable in quieter passages as it highlights the quantization distortion. Let's see a real case, Ravel's Bolero, a composition with a remarkable dynamic range. Here is the original in 32-bit float. Let's listen to the same again, but in 8 bits without Dither. The distortion is remarkable. However, jumping to a section where the levels are considerably louder, she is masked. Let's listen now with Dither. The noise is loud, but the information is intact. To reduce the noise level of the Dither, the shaped version has been introduced. With shaped, the Dither has variable intensity in the spectrum, more accentuated in highs than in lows and mids region. Here the shaped Dither. The noise is much more subtle. Let's compare it with the previous one. significantly better. Therefore, whenever a truncated bit format is used, dithering is required, and the shipped version that every DAW is able to add, and some of them by default, is highly recommended. About the DAW and the workflow. In order to avoid quantization distortion during recording, the temporary files generated by the DAWs must be of the float type, since no dithering is added to them to avoid noise build-up. It is true that on 16 or 24 bits the distortion is smaller, but it exists. Imagine a project with 70 or 80 tracks where the various distortions are added together in an algebraic way. The resultant is certainly not clean, and at quieter levels it is audible. We saw it in this video, and you carry this distortion on with you to the master, and even using dithering in the final master, it will not be cancelled. How then avoid it throughout the recording process and mix? It's good practice in all the steps from recording up to mastering, use files at least at 32 bits float. After all the current DAWs process at 32 float. We might not lose the advantages by saving in truncated format files, but in float format files. Years ago, few DAWs offered this. Pro Tools never used a 32 float technology until version 10 was released. To be precise, 32 float was added from version 8, but not on the buses, which were then updated from version 10 onwards. As demonstration, let's now listen to an example at 8 bits to make the distortion more evident. With Reaper, it's possible to set up the entire project to 8 bits, so it's easier to demonstrate this. Any other DAW starts at 16 bits, the distortion therefore is lighter, but if you know how to do, as seen a little while ago, it can also be detected at 16 and 24 bits. The file is a recorded track as it is used to record any instrument, any voice, any source.
Questo è un esempio di segnale temporaneo di una semplice traccia, così come viene registrato dalla DAW sul hard disk, durante una normalissima registrazione. Dal momento che la DAW non aggiunge dithering nei files temporanei, ci si porta dietro questa distorsione fino al master finale. Abbassando ulteriormente il livello della voce si sente ancora di più, ma naturalmente già udibile a questo livello.
All tracks in all projects that have not been recorded at least at 32-bit float have this type of distortion, and you carry it on with you to the end. Of course, it is less noticeable with the increasing of the bit depth, but there is, we saw it a little while ago. Then set the template of your projects on your DAW to 32 or 64-bit float, making sure that the recorded tracks are really 32 or 64 bits float. The mix you send to the master engineer must be 32 or 64 bits float. The master engineer will add the dither when he will close the session in a 24 or 16-bit wave. If she's unable to do so, simply look for another one. With MP3, dither is not used, so you don't have to try to use it. Indeed, MP3 is a bitstream format, so it doesn't have an LSB, least significant bit. Hence, adding dither doesn't make any sense unless you first export it to a truncated format, 16 or 24-bit wave, and then convert it into MP3. In this case, it must be added to the WAV file while exporting it. That's why the most advanced DAWs do not allow the addition of dither when exporting to MP3. I hope it was useful. That's it for the moment. Thanks for watching.